kati mu ggwanga ekiriwo maama w'eggwanga ensi emunoonya abantu buli omu ayogera byalabye kubanga talabika. Yezu bwe yafa bw'ati abantu baali bamunoonya aliwa baatuuka ku ntaana ne batamusangayo ne banoonya paka we baazuula nti azuukidde. Nyongera okusaba bonna bonna bekikwatako okubuulira eggwanga nti maama w'eggwanga aliwa kubanga bamuyita first lady mu ggwanga. Buli ebimukwatako bannayuganda bateekebwa okubanga bamanyi kubanga abeera maama w'eggwanga nga bwe banoonya Yezu ne maama w'eggwanga naye abantu bamunoonya emitima ginaabaka nga bategedde nti ali wano oba ali mubeera bweti oba yeetaaga essaala zaffe ne tumusabira.
Account could no longer be accessed. This timing quickly fueled speculation that the two events might be connected. However, it remains unclear whether the account was deactivated by Muhoozi himself or suspended by X following a coordinated reporting campaign. Neither the platform nor the general had immediately provided an official explanation. The uncertainty has led to widespread debate, with many people sharing different opinions about what might have happened. Some believe the platform may have taken action due to the nature of the posts. Others argue that Muhoozi may have chosen to deactivate the account on his own, possibly to avoid further controversy or public pressure. This would not be the first time such a situation has occurred. Muhoozi has previously deactivated and later reactivated his account on several occasions. Back in April 2022, he temporarily left the platform only to return days later with a message reassuring his followers that he was back after making some personal decisions. A similar incident happened again in January 2025 when he deactivated his account shortly after making controversial remarks about opposition figures including Bobi Wine. At that time, he stated that he wanted to focus on his military duties and mentioned stepping back under what he described as spiritual guidance. These past incidents have led some observers to believe that the latest disappearance could also be temporary. Many are now waiting to see whether he will return again. The situation highlights the powerful role social media plays in modern leadership and public life. High-profile figures like Muhoozi often face intense scrutiny over their online statements. It also raises questions about the limits of free expression on global platforms and how companies respond to controversial content. Supporters of Muhoozi argue that he has the right to express his views even if they are unpopular. They see the calls for banning him as an attack on free speech. Critics, however, insist that public figures must be held accountable for their words, especially when those words may be seen as threatening or inappropriate. The incident has once again placed Uganda's political and social media environment in the spotlight, drawing attention from both local and international audiences. As discussions continue, many are calling for clarity from both Muhoozi and X regarding what exactly led to the account's disappearance. For now, the silence from his once active account has only deepened the mystery. His followers remain unsure whether this is a temporary break or something more permanent. In the fast-moving world of social media, such developments can change quickly. Until an official explanation is given, speculation is likely to continue.
Hello, Juliet. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to dive right into it. I'm here to give you an update and the full story behind the death or the loss or the fate of the children of Maranatha High School. Good to see you. Good to see you. Of Maranatha High School, the nursery school where the welding machete man went and literally slaughtered 4 children, 4 babies, I would say. You know, nursery, from the pictures that I saw, I don't think they're anywhere beyond 6 years. I don't think so. Hello, Daniel. I don't think so. But I feel guilty because with what I've chosen to do and what I do, information like this should filter right away when it comes. We have tried, we've endeavored, but there was a little lag in transfer or share that got us to miss the occurrence of this. Hopefully, if we had the information right away, we would have saved those innocent souls, those children. But I didn't have it on hand, and I feel really bad because we should have saved these children. And of course, their family, parents. You know, I saw a mother of one of them carry their lifeless child on their shoulder. Nobody should bury their child. I say this again and again. But Museveni makes it easy. Pam says they were 2 and 3 years old. You know, I have a 4-year-old, and I also have a almost 2 years old. I know exactly what it means. I have never lost a child, so thank God. But it is sad, sad, sad to lose a child. It is a terrible thing. Welcome, Lydia. Welcome. So I have the full story. Unfortunately, it's coming after the fact. We will rework things and see to make sure that we get information right away and get it out as soon as possible. This one has come later, and it breaks my heart. I now understand why some people who get information like this feel bad when they shun information or delay or dismiss. So I'm going to give you everything as raw as it is. As it comes to me, I will share so that you have an opportunity to experience things as they will come to you, or you'll get to see them, because it's that important. If I knew this before, I wouldn't go to bed knowing these facts, so that we could save those children. But unfortunately, it's a little too late. But at least I have the facts which we can share, we can tweet, and we can also look to the future, because what they did, they actually said that it was not adequate, was not enough damage as they wished for. I'm telling you, these people are extremely, extremely evil. Extremely evil. But anyway, as you know, Janet Museveni is likely not here. Is likely not with us. But as I mentioned in my previous video, they will not come out and say anything right away. Museveni himself is in deteriorating health and declining health. And it looks to me like they may all go out at once. Either way, it works. It's good for Uganda, because Uganda needs a breath of fresh air from all these evil people. All of them should somehow go someplace or just be gone. God help us. You know, that's the prayer. So in their absence, Janet Museveni and Museveni himself, the son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, is in charge, and Salim Saleh, who is the uncle of the son of Museveni, which I saw that he disappeared from Twitter today. Either they closed his Twitter account or he closed it himself. One of the two, but either way, you know, that's just another diversion to get us to talk about it. I'm not going to give it any minute. I want to talk about what happened to these children and how they ended up this way. The updates are that Salim Saleh and Muhoozi are trying very, very hard to divert attention from Janet's disappearance or death or passing, and from Museveni's absence. As you know, really, in truth, if something like this happened to children, you would think Janet Museveni would come out and speak about it. Because Muhoozi is not that smart, he hurt the area that would require his mother to come out and speak. But in any case, Salim Saleh and Muhoozi are now running the show. They're doing everything presidential, or to pretend as if Museveni is actually present, but they're working from the same script of Museveni from way back when he came to whatever he's doing now, whether he's here or not. Okay, so the children of Gaba were articulated or planned entirely by Salim Saleh, Muhoozi, Frank Mwesigwa, some SFCs, and Abbas Biakagaba. They all planned this at Serena Hotel. Serena Hotel is in Mutundwe, I believe. These plans were made by them to divert attention or divert conversation during this Easter period from focusing on Museveni and his wife being out of action, and also to bring certain laws that pertain to nursery schools or kindergarten schools for children. And the biggest deal was that they actually want the land where the school is located, which that would be somewhere around Gaba Community Church. The mafias, the Salim Salehs, the Muhoozis, and so on would like to take over that land. I understand they don't like the pastor or the owner of that church, who built everything from ground up on his own. They also want to cause fear and intimidation, as always, amongst the people, because they're preparing for a few things. First of all, they're preparing for this coup d'etat. The other thing is they're trying to die down the limelight of His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. The other thing is Museveni is witchcraft centered. All his life, his coming to power, his existence, his bringing Janet into the Ministry of Education has gone with some loss of blood. As I said before, Museveni has destroyed lives of unborn babies to senior citizens in Uganda. In any way that he's able to do it, he has done it. He has done it through accidents. He has done it through actual murder. Museveni is documented cutting open a pregnant woman during the time when he was still in the bush and killing her, cutting her belly open. Museveni is documented by one of the survivors of the children who his witch doctor had requested that he gets unborn children from their mother's womb and sacrifice them somehow. This is something that he achieved successfully of two women, but one of them escaped and had this child in a foreign country, one of the neighboring countries, and he came back to speak about it. So when I say this man has destroyed from unborn to seniors, you can relate from your neighborhood, from where you come from the people you know, people who have gone without any sort of explanation. And Museveni continues to do these things day in, day out. Unfortunately for these children, he must have to sacrifice something of such sort because he was asked by his whatever gods, his witchcraft, to do something like this. Okay, so one of the reasons that he did that, it was to satisfy his witchcraft, because they requested for young or blood of very young souls, so that Museveni gets healing from the surgical operation he's undergoing. As I said, that his health has critically declined, and so he's been requiring to perform some sort of surgeries on himself, to be able to do better and come back into the eyes, before our eyes, looking normal. But as an old man and as a man full of bad karma, several things will happen to Museveni. But like nature would have it, at this age, everything is crippling him. Any and everything is falling apart. Museveni thought he was immortal. Museveni thought that he would live forever. Museveni thought that by now there would be no opposition or nobody giving him a hard time. But His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu has shocked the heck out of him. Okay? So for 4 reasons, these children lost their lives. To divert attention during this Easter period, to bring laws against nursery schools or schools of kindergarteners or children, to cause fear among people as they're trying to move forward with their coup d'etat, which is for themselves, by themselves, with themselves, for their own achievement. Nobody else's. They're going to try to cause a war upon themselves, and then they will come in and try to rescue it as if they took it away from somebody who was trying to take it from them. So when I mention it's by themselves, for themselves, within themselves, amongst themselves, to achieve their personal goals, it is what it means. It's for them. So anyway, what was the arrangement like for this event? This very sad, awful event of the children losing their lives. Here is how they planned it out. The gentleman that you see that they paraded, Muhoozi paraded as the executor or the person who killed those children, the machete welder, that person was picked up either in the 2020, remember heading towards the elections, there were a lot of people who were abducted, who were killed, who were hurt because they were trying to demean Noop and the opposition and all of that. That person, the gentleman who was in the picture in a gray shirt and gray pants, likely is a prisoner who was caught around the period of 2020, or somebody from prisons in Tanzania whom they offered a deal to come and perform this thing so that he gets time off or gets freed from his prison sentence. It was well planned. However, they felt like it was poorly executed according to the after meeting that was attended by them at Kaihura's house in Muyenga. I actually know where Kaihura lives in Muyenga because I lived in Muyenga once. Okay, so according to them, the plan did not go as planned because they sent this gentleman, or their plan was that at least 20 children would be murdered from this school. The goal was 20 children. But this gentleman who went to perform this act went in at a time where it is Easter period, okay? He went in on a Wednesday as a regular parent. He was driven there by the Muhoozis or the SFCs, because it was planned between the SFCs and SFCs Frank Mwesigwa, Salim Saleh, and Muhoozi at Serena Hotel in Mutundwe. I believe that's what it is, Mutundwe. Okay? Their plan was to drive this man, which they did on Wednesday. This man went to the school, to the administration office, to seek or pretend to seek admissions for a child of his to go to that school. Okay? Now, when this gentleman went to that school, he was seeking an application for a child of his. And because it was a Wednesday and the following day would be Easter Thursday, there were fewer children. As you know, we celebrate Easter, and a lot of people are Christians or Catholics or people who will celebrate Easter. So the children were fewer than usual, okay? And he had a lot of questions that he kept asking. And so the person who was talking to him or trying to get the admission process going told him that he needed to come back the next day. Otherwise, he was to execute this thing on that Wednesday that he went first when he was driven to the school. Okay? He asked a lot of questions, as a parent, what do the children eat, or how do they live? Where do they, let me see the classrooms. Let me see what is the curriculum and all these kinds of things. So he asked the right questions like every parent would. However, I understand that because there were too many questions, they asked him to come back the next day. But being a Thursday, it's even closer to Easter. They call it Holy Thursday in Uganda. So they asked him and said, well, he went and he was driven to now complete the operation, okay? He found just 4 children outside on the veranda. And when he came in, the person who was talking to him, continuing with the questions about admission, saw him with a machete on his side. And she asked him, why do you have a machete on you? What is that? And he fidgeted. So when they figured him out, he had to hurry up and do what he needed to do. So he went on to the veranda where there was 4 children, and he cut all 4 to death. He chopped their neck, and those children bled to death. So because he found just those 4, because most of the parents had their children at home in preparations for Easter, and the ones who brought their children were the ones who normally bring the children so that they can go and continue walking and maybe pick them up later and things like that. All he found was 4 children. Immediately when this happened, when the administrator saw the machete, this man started to rush and do what he was sent to do. So he went on and started to kill those 4 children that were sitting on the veranda, while the administrator, who saw him and saw what he started to do, ran out and started to scream. She screamed on top of her voice. In the meantime, there were plans to execute such a deal or such an activity in more than one school. The other school is called Modern School, which is in the neighborhood. Okay? Now, as the lady started to scream, running out of the fence, trying to get help, which is how we normally seek help in Uganda, is to make a loud noise so somebody will hear, to tell somebody who will tell somebody. The whole village or community started to pour in to see what's going on. You know, a school in the neighborhood, everybody knows who runs the school, who lives there, or who takes care of the children. When they heard the principal or the person's voice, they decided to run in and see what's going on. And she started to tell them what's going on, and they found the children dead. Unfortunately, being very small, they can't reserve, you know, the bleeding could rush. And when you cut the jugular, which is the biggest blood vessel that brings blood to the head, once that's cut, you could lose a lot of blood to the brain, and that kills the brain almost instantly in the shortest time possible. So he knew what to do, and he did that. Okay? So as people started to come in and run in, the military poured immediately, and the police. I'm talking, as soon as he started to scream, because as soon as the lady started to scream and the community joined in and screaming, those other executors who were at a different school called Modern, who were about to attempt their activity of killing more children there, stopped and rerouted back and retreated back because they could not continue, because the community had already said, you know, had already communicated that something is wrong. So the Abbas and Frank Mwesigwa were at the scene at the same time. More SFCs poured in, more policemen poured in. The reason for them coming is not to rescue these people. No. Not to rescue the community, not to rescue the school-going children, not to try to hide or get whoever the perpetrator was. Their purpose of being there, which they had already been informed, they are already waylaid around the area to protect the murderer. The police, the SFC, and the military, Abbas and Frank, were there to protect the murderer on scene. Not to protect the people or rescue the event. No. Okay? So there was a whole battalion of army military present near Gaba Seminary on standby to rescue that man. Not to rescue the situation with the children and parents. That's why the army poured immediately. The reason why they did was because they were informed, they knew what was happening, and they were part of the plan. The murderer had communication gadgets. If you have seen when, for example, new prisoners are arrested, they take.
Okumanya yabadde mutendeke ekimala atenga mukugumu kyebadde akola yasose kujja kusaba kifo asobola okuyingira naye yabadde akulira essomero mu woofiisi era n'afuluma n'amusibiramu ng'amaze n'okwetegereza nti amusibiddemu talina wagenda kuyita yamusibidde mu woofiisi okitegedde bw'otunuulira omusajja ono omutemu lwaki sakozi saagala kuyisa bintu bino kubiyisaamu maaso era kugamba nti bano babitwistinga nyo naye ne babiteeka wala kuba tulina bye twayisaako amaaso byagenda okuvayo nga byebyo